Hey everyone, this is Sabrina. Welcome back to my channel. I'm going to be doing a May favorite book in my reading journal, and this is kind of what I started with. I pulled some flowers from the internet and turned them into clear stickers. I also got a stencil because I was inspired by April Mom Run Craft, and I really wanted to try stencils, and I love sunflowers, so I got a sunflower, and that went perfect with the cover of this book. I know the flowers on this book are not quite sunflowers, but it will work just fine. So I did one test flower. You can kind of see that. My daughter was helping me by reading the instructions. So I did that one off camera, and then this one I am showing you how. It is a layered stencil, and so you just do each layer as you go, and it turns out beautiful. Mind you, my top layer is not going to be like as bright as maybe it could be, but that's just because I don't have like an ink to make it a little brighter. But I still love it, and I still think it turned out great. So for the leaf, I use a green, and I just add that on two different sides, and then I will add in a darker green. With that darker green, I did not have to add any more ink because it was still so saturated from when I did my test flower. I'll go ahead and leave the links for the stencils and also the brushes, both that April recommended. I'll leave those in my description box. That way you can check them out if you want to. I really love how easy these were to use, and like I said in my June journaling video, it's a lot easier if you really tape it down and have the correct blending brushes. These are really awesome, and I love them. So that is my flower, and I will use that somehow in my spread. Now, I don't know what I'm gonna do to make this a really special page because this book is so special. It's just amazing. If you read Lovelight Farms, then you know kind of the characters already, Beckett and Evelyn, but you got to read that one first. It's just so magical, and I can't say enough about how amazing these books are. So back to the design. As you can see, I started out with a flap because I thought it might be fun to add in a flap, and that way I'd have more room for maybe a review or a couple extra quotes, but it's not going to work in the end. But I still wanted to kind of show you where I was going with the design. And I also, when I was stamping this, I wound up with two separate kind of areas. I wound up with a weird middle in between where I had stamped "You Belong" in the Wildflowers. That wasn't intentional, so that kind of made for a weird design. So that's another reason I took it out. I am using stamps that are from Crafty Schow. She released them years ago, and I've had them forever. And this stamp set is actually called Wildflowers, and I knew it would be perfect. I did use a pink ink for one of the wildflowers, but I'm going to wind up covering that up with all my stamping. One of the wildflowers was this huge poppy, I believe it was a huge poppy, but either way, it was huge and beautiful, and I was just having the best time stamping all these flowers in different sections because I had a general idea of where my various clusters are going to be. So kind of the direction that my design is going is I'm going to have a mix of stamps, a mix of the clear stickers that I made, and also the stenciled flowers. So it's like three mixes of different flowers, and it kind of goes with the theme of wildflowers. I also found this stamp in the Wildflower stamp set that I didn't really read until I was looking for stamps, but it goes perfect with the overall theme of the book. It says, "We must have adventures to know where we truly belong," and that was kind of a central theme for this book. So here you can see this is kind of where I was like, okay, wait a second. I don't think I'm going to be able to include this flap. It's just not going to work for a cohesive design. I fold this flower in half because at first I thought, okay, I'll just do half on this flap and then maybe another half on the inside of the flap. That's not going to work. So I cut this flower out, and I'm just going to kind of rearrange things and see where I want things to land. So bear with me, stick with me. We're going to figure this out. And this is the fun part of, having a reading journal and not having, like, say, a scrapbook page. You don't know where this is going to go. It's going to go somewhere fun, and you're going to have a favorite book documented, but you're not quite sure where you're headed. But where I headed was making, distinct locations for my wildflowers. And in the end, oh my goodness, this layout's going to turn out amazing as far as I'm concerned, which is what counts, right? We got to love our projects. So for in the weeds, I put the orange stencil flower behind it. And then I put a large sunflower sticker off to the left. Then I'm going to tuck kind of half of one behind in the weeds. But I'm still kind of messing around with the flap and the different flowers. And this is where I decide, okay, I'm just going to rip it up. I'm going to stop messing with, different locations of where things are going to go. And I'm just going to move forward with my idea of 3 different types of flowers. And you can really see that start to come to life or fruition, I guess, when you see that I have down in the bottom the stencil flower, the cluster of stickers, and the stamps. And I switched out the orange flower to go on the left side since the right side already had an orange. So that worked out perfect. I wrote down thoughts that way I knew where I could stamp that adventurer's quote, and that was perfect up there. I also grabbed a stamp that says love, 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 and I will add that in a little bit. And I'm definitely going to find a spot for the you belong among the wildflowers. I am going to find a spot for that in a little bit. I also turned both of the stencil pieces on the right hand side so that way the green leaves are almost touching each other. So it does kind of make if we could call my 2 different clusters, one on the top and the one by the book cover, we'll call those clusters, fields. The 2 fields of flowers are connecting. So that was my thinking as I'm kind of connecting my clusters. This is where I take half of that sunflower and tuck it in and then just cut off the other portion that I don't need. I really liked how that little sticker is poking out in the back. So that was really fun. And again, I just find these images on Google, and if it's a PNG is what I look for. And once I find that, I can extract the image and put it on my clear sticker paper to print out. So I put the you belong among the wildflowers right in the middle of those 2 sections where those green leaves kind of meet. Added another large orange flower, and I also took like a green leaf, and you can see I'm here using it here and a piece of paper to create grass and kind of a line for the various flowers to rest. I'm using the 2 different ink colors for the green to add just a little bit of depth to the grass. Wipe off the little portion I got on the clear sticker, and I love it. I'm glad I played around with this and stuck with it to try to figure out a design that was cohesive and what I had in mind, and kind of doing a design that did justice to this amazing book. I took a light brown ink and stamped some hearts. This is where I add the love, love, love. I added it right below the book cover and down in the bottom left corner, but I will move that later on. Okay, so stick with me as I write out my thoughts for this book. I felt like this book was so good and just an all-time favorite that it was hard for me to accurately put down my thoughts. I was kind of stumbling over my thoughts. So in Lovelight Farms, we're introduced to this magical farm. I mean, if I could live there, I would live there. And we are introduced to Beckett, the farmer, and kind of, you have to read that book, but we were introduced to Beckett, and he winds up meeting Evelyn, and together they kind of find their way to each other, and they learn what joy is. And that was kind of like a key central theme in the book is, did you find your happy today? And it's just, that is so profound, because that is kind of something I live by is, not every day is going to be great, but did you try? And that's what counts, right? And that's what this book is about, and how Evelyn returns to the farm to kind of find herself and do something for herself and help herself find that joy. And in finding that joy, she, reconnects with Beckett, and of course, they fall in love, and it is a beautiful, poetic love story, and it's captivating, and I couldn't put it down. My friend Jen at Mrs. Boom Reads, she's the one that sent me a copy so I could read it right away, and I was so thankful. I actually asked her, what is your favorite quote? And this is her quote that she picked. And it was one of my favorite quotes, so I had to add it. It says, "Trying to be happy is like telling a flower to bloom. You can't make yourself be happy, but you can be open to it. You can trust yourself enough to feel it when you stumble on it." And that is just amazing. I ran out of room, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the back, and I've mentioned this before in a few other journal videos, is I go to the back and I have a scratch piece of paper. So I'm just going to rip out a chunk of that and then cut that so that way it can fill in the bottom and I can finish writing the rest of that quote. So it really is just a wonderful story that you're just completely captivated by, and you can really imagine the farm and how wonderful a place this is, how wonderful the small town is. And so you've got to read the book. And I heard a third book is coming out, and I cannot wait. I cannot wait. So I cover up that the bottom and the love, 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 and find a new place to stamp it. And now you can even tell that I kind of made a boo-boo or ran out of room for that quote. The one on the right-hand side is where I put, "Did you find your happy today?" And I also put, "It's okay if it takes you some time to find it again. That's the beauty, it comes and goes. Not every day is a happy one, and it shouldn't be." And that was Beckett, because Beckett is really just a deep, insightful man. He's a man of few words, but his words count and they mean something. And he shows Evelyn so much, and they both show each other so much. And I love this book. Have I said that enough? Have I said it enough? I just love it. So I am finishing up the spread with a little bit more of black stamping. It's like a cluster of circles. Then I'm going to highlight some words, and this time I'm going to test my marker, because last time I made a faves page, I think it was for Barry Squires. I did not test it, and I didn't like the marker I chose. So I'm highlighting things like, the character's name, beautiful love story, will still be crap days, find her happy, and I couldn't find the words to accurately describe this book. And then I will highlight some of the quote words. So I hope you guys have enjoyed seeing how I designed this, how this came together, and listening to my thoughts about this wonderful book. And I would love a thumbs up or a subscribe if you're new to my channel. All right, I hope you enjoyed, and have a great day. Bye.